The Life of Napoleon by William Hazlitt, Volume 5, performed by Robert Bethune. A note to the listener. William Hazlitt numbered his chapters continuously throughout the 6-volume work. Therefore the previous volume, Volume 4, ended with Chapter 47, and this volume, Volume 5, begins with Chapter 48. Chapter 48. The Retreat from Moscow. At Smolensk, Bonaparte was 12 marches from Borisov, where Wittgenstein from the north and Chichikov from the south were trying to form a junction in the neighborhood of Minsk so as to cut off his retreat. After the action of the 18th of August, which procured St. Cyr the rank of marshal, that general remained on the Russian bank of the Duna, in possession of Polotsk and an entrenched camp before it. During the 2 following months the war had been a mere affair of outposts, but to the advantage of the Russians, and at the end of that period Wittgenstein's army amounted to 52,000 men, while the French was reduced to 17,000, including the Bavarians or 6th Corps. St. Cyr was fearful of being turned on his right by Wittgenstein, and on his left by Steinheil, who was advancing from Riga with 2 divisions from the army of Finland. St. Cyr wrote to MacDonald, urging him to stop this army, or to send him 15,000 men, but MacDonald, suspecting the intention of York to deliver up his park of siege artillery to the Russians, refused on any account to stir from his post. In this situation the Russians were becoming more daring every day, and on the 17th of October St. Cyr's advanced posts were driven in, and Wittgenstein gained possession of the outlets of the woods which surround Polotsk. On the following day he attacked him with fury in his entrenchments, yet, after an obstinate engagement, St. Cyr, though wounded, remained master of the field. On his left, a body of Swiss and Croats, who had never been in action, rushed too impetuously forward, and were in danger of being overwhelmed by numbers. They at length, however, disentangled themselves and repulsed the enemy. Thus 14,000 men, according to the French accounts, resisted 50. St. Cyr slept tranquilly, not dreaming that Steinheil had crossed the Duna at Dryasa, and was ascending the left bank of the river with 13,000 men to attack him in his rear. On the 19th, Wittgenstein was observed with his troops under arms, regularly drawn up for an attack, for which, however, he seemed to want resolution to give the signal. St. Cyr was at a loss to account for this backwardness, when about 10 in the morning an aide-de-camp arrived at full speed from the opposite bank of the river to announce that another hostile army was advancing on that side and driving the French cavalry before it. The rumor of this conflict filled the ranks of Wittgenstein with transport, and the French camp with dismay. The cannon of Steinheil were distinctly heard. Already St. Cyr had detached 3 regiments to meet him, and began to point his batteries against the bridge over which he must pass, yet Wittgenstein continued inactive. He seemed not contented with hearing Steinheil's fire, but determined to wait for his approach. His officers advised St. Cyr to an instant retreat, but he conceived that it would only be a signal for Wittgenstein to fall upon him with his whole force, and he thought it better to trust to the unaccountable torpor which had seized the Russians, and to the chapter of accidents. For 3 hours he stood in the most anxious suspense with his watch in his hand, marking the decline of the sun, and hoping that Polotsk might be wrapped in darkness before the arrival of his new enemy. At length, when he was within half an hour's march of the bridge where he could bar St. Cyr from his only avenue by which he could escape from Wittgenstein, he halted. A thick fog at the same time came on, and concealed the 3 armies from each other's view. St. Cyr instantly began to cross the river, but some of the troops setting fire to their camp gave the alarm to Wittgenstein, and a severe conflict ensued before the French were able to make good their retreat. Steinheil heard it not, nor did he come to the assistance of his countrymen, and the next day, his communication with Wittgenstein having been
Sample complete. Ready to continue?